Hey guys, and today I'm going to do my tips for round 18 and 19. I'm going on holiday for like 9 days, so I thought I'd be prepared. First up we have top of the table clash, Essendon and Hawthorn up against each other at Etihad Stadium. Last week, Hawthorn were challenged fairly well by the Doggies and only just got home in the end by 19 points. And Essendon, for the second time this season, have defeated GWS by 39 points, so they were challenged too, but did enough in the end. And the last time these sides went up against each other, it was Hawthorn getting a pretty easy 94-point victory. From memory, I don't think Essendon have beaten Hawthorn since 2009. That's just a rough guess. I think that's the last time they bet them. And yeah, they've lost 3 games this year, Essendon, and 2 of them have been to top 4 sides, so this will certainly challenge them. I have to go with Hawthorn here, but I reckon it should be a ripping contest. I'm going to tip the Hawks by 21 points. Another big game coming up is Gold Coast hosting Carlton at Metricon Stadium on the Saturday afternoon. Last week, Gold Coast caused a major upset, their first major win against Collingwood, winning by 7 points in the end. And Carlton were very, very sneaky. They got a 1-point victory against the Kangaroos. And the last time these sides went head-to-head, it was Gold Coast getting a 12-point win at home. And boy, Carlton sprayed their opportunities that night. It's a real toss of the coin, this game, because we know how good Gold Coast are at home, but we know Carlton seem to be on the rise as well. Last time, Carlton did kick 11 goals 20, so they weren't really accurate, that's for sure. And Gold Coast just got off to a magnificent start. I'd almost have to say Carlton off recent form, but I don't think there'll be a whole lot in it. I'm going to tip the Blues by 4 points in a close one. North Melbourne and Melbourne will battle against each other at Etihad Stadium on the Saturday afternoon. Last week, Melbourne, they were okay, but they didn't quite get the job done against Brisbane, going down by 19 points at TIO Stadium. In North Melbourne, they went down to Carlton by a solitary point. They did make a comeback though, so it was a bit of change of events, but didn't get the result they were after. And the last time these sides went up against each other, it was North by 54 points. I can't see North losing here, I'm just going to tip North by 35 points. Collingwood and the Giants go up against each other at the MCG on late Saturday afternoon. Last week, Collingwood received a shock loss to the hands of the Gold Coast, and GWS were relatively okay. They were pretty competitive, but still went down by 39 points. The last encounter between these sides, it was Collingwood pretty easily by 120 points. But yeah, Collingwood should definitely bounce back, and in front of their home crowd shouldn't have too many issues. I'm going to tip Collingwood by 71 points. Geelong and St Kilda will fight it out at Simmons Stadium on the Saturday night. Last week, Geelong got a shocking loss to Adelaide. Couldn't believe my eyes watching that. They were just terrible in the second half, whilst on the other hand, St Kilda were really good in the second half against Port, but they couldn't quite get a win in the end. They just lost by 5 points. The last encounter between these sides, it was Geelong winning by 42 points. I can't really see Geelong losing at home. They just never lose there. Well, not very often anyway. And yeah, they'll definitely want to bounce back after last week's poor performance. I'm going to tip Geelong by 44 points. Adelaide take a trip over to Western Australia to take on Fremantle at Patterson Stadium on the Saturday night. Last week, Adelaide got an amazing 2-point victory over Geelong after trailing by, I think it was about 5 goals. And yeah, they got a win. Fremantle, they were undermanned, and they went down to the Tigers by 27 points away from home. And the last time these sides went up against each other wasn't that long ago. It was Fremantle winning by 7 points at AAMI Stadium. The Crows have really had a lot of spirit in the last few weeks with the way they've played. But yeah, the way I see it is if Fremantle can beat Adelaide at AAMI Stadium, where they're supposedly tough to beat, they can certainly beat them at home, where Fremantle are so tough to beat. I'm going to go with the Dockers in a close one, with Fremantle winning by 12 points. An interesting clash sees Port Adelaide hosting Brisbane at AAMI Stadium on the Sunday. Last week, Port Adelaide were very, very good in the first half against St Kilda, but faded away in the second half. Still got the win in the end by 5 points. And Brisbane did enough to get it over the line against Melbourne at TIO Stadium, winning by 19 points. The last time these sides went up against each other, it was Brisbane surprising everyone at Football Park, winning by 11 points. Another potential 50-50 contest here, but Port have shown they've been able to beat quality sides at home. They've been Quite exceptional at home this year, defeating sides like Collingwood and Sydney. Yeah, I think Port will be able to manage to keep their top 8 position. Well, it'll be very low in the top 8, but it'll still be there. I'm going to tip Port Adelaide by 16 points. Another promising clash is the Western Bulldogs hosting West Coast at Etihad Stadium on the Sunday afternoon. Last week, the Western Bulldogs were pretty competitive against the Hawks. They only went down by 19 points in the end, so it was a close one. And West Coast still couldn't break a 2-2 over Sydney, losing by 34 points. And the last time these sides went up against each other, it was at Patterson Stadium with West Coast winning by 70 points. You could almost say this is another 50-50 clash. And I think everyone would have to agree that the Eagles seem to have the best fourth line in the competition, but I mean, it's one thing having the fourth line, but the next thing is being able to use it, and they just haven't been able to use it that effectively this year. And yeah, I really like the Doggies the last 2 weeks. They've been pretty competitive against some decent sides, and I'll give them a fair chance to win on this occasion. Just maybe a bit of an upset for once. I'm going to tip the Dogs to win against the Eagles by 11 points. Last game of the round is Richmond travelling over to Sydney to take on the Swans of the SCG. Last week, Sydney were terrific against West Coast, notching up their 7th straight win against them. And Richmond, they just outplayed the Dockers, getting a 27-point win. The last time these sides went up against each other, it was Richmond surprising a few people at the MCG, getting a 29-point win against the subsequent premiers. Sydney don't drop too many games at home at the SCG, but it will certainly show where both sides are at, especially Richmond. And many people know that Richmond can be pretty inconsistent at times too, but it'll be a remarkable victory if they can get it away from home. However, I'm going with Sydney to win by 32 points. So those are my tips for round 18, and now I'm going to do my tips for round 19. I'll be pretty brief with these because obviously I won't know the results for round 18 straight away, and I won't be able to really make a fair assessment. So here goes. North played Geelong on the Friday night, and last time it was Geelong coming back, luckily winning by 2 points in the end. It's a 50-50 game, but I'm just going to tip Geelong, not convincingly though, because the Roos played bloody well at Etihad. I'm going to go with the Cats by 4 points. GWS host Melbourne at Scotus Stadium. Last time it was Melbourne by 41 points at the MCG. I think GWS will be able to win this one. They're bound to win one, and they've been decent at home. This is just a game that they're most likely going to win. I'm going to tip GWS by 8 points. I've been looking forward to Richmond and Hawthorn playing all year, and I'll be away, so what a shame that is. The last time these sides went up against each other, it was Richmond winning by 62 points, and that's just amazing, really, that stat. And I think the Tigers can win it. They seem to be able to beat the Hawks, even when they're at their best, and Hawthorn haven't lost many games either. I even remember Richmond defeated the Hawks in 2008, and obviously, they were the premiers that year. So they're definitely a chance, and, winning by 10 goals last year doesn't hurt either. I'm going to tip the Tigers to win by 25 points. West Coast hosts Gold Coast in WA. Last time it was West Coast winning by 126 points at home. I don't think it will be that much this time, but I do give Gold Coast a fair chance, but Eagles should win at home. I'm going to tip West Coast by 19 points. Carlton hosts Fremantle at Etihad. Last time it was Carlton by 8 points over in the West. It's a 50-50 game, really tough to tip, but Fremantle know how to win anytime, anywhere, and it'll be a great test to see how they go against Carlton, who are on the rise. I'm going to tip Fremantle by 2 points. St Kilda go to the Gabba to take on the Lions. Last time it was St Kilda beating Brisbane by 13 points, which was also at the Gabba. If Brisbane can beat quality opposition at home, surely they can beat St Kilda. If they can't, well, that's just disgraceful. I'm going to tip Brisbane by 27 points. Western Bulldogs host Sydney at Etihad. Last time it was Sydney by 82 points, which was at Etihad, and the time before that it was 92 points. And yeah, Sydney are a top 4 side. They should easily get a win here. I'm going to tip the Swans by 40 points. Showdown at AM Stadium sees Adelaide up against Port Adelaide. Last time it was a really good game. Port Adelaide came back from a big lead that Adelaide had and won by 9 points. It's going to be tough to tip this one because Adelaide have been in really competitive form recently, but I'm going to go with Port to win by 3 points. Collingwood face Essendon at the MCG with what should be an entertaining clash. Last time it was the Bombers winning the Anzac Day game for the first time since 2009, and that was by 46 points. I think Essendon should be able to keep up their current form, and they should be able to beat the Pies as they did last time quite easily. And especially with Collingwood being pretty inconsistent, you don't give them much chop for this game. I'm going to tip Essendon by 24 points. So those are my tips for round 18 and 19. Hope you've enjoyed them. Comment your tips if you feel like it. Like the video if you enjoyed it and found it informative. And I'll probably see you guys in a couple of weeks or a week and a half or whatever happens.